Pitchers and catchers reporting to Peoria for spring training for the 2023 Seattle Mariners is just a few weeks away. Can you feel it? I can feel it.
Are you feeling it now, Mr. Krabs?
And in this video, we're going to take a look at the possible Mariners lineup as well as their 26-man roster for the 2023 season. Honestly, I don't think that there are a lot of big question marks here. Overall, the Mariners' 26-man roster is pretty set in stone, barring of course a trade that Jerry could make in spring training, maybe some non-roster invitees, and of course injuries. But with that being said, I feel pretty good about this 26-man roster and how accurate this is going to be come opening day. Let me know in the comments down below after you see this roster and the final lineup, how you feel about it, and if you think there are any snubs on here, maybe somebody I missed, or maybe some surprise players that we're not going to expect. I think overall the hardest thing to predict for the Mariners is their bench, but starting in the outfield, we have Jarred Kelenic in left field, Julio Rodriguez in center field, and Teoscar Hernandez in right field. Barring a trade and or an injury, I fully expect this to be the starting lineup for the Mariners on opening day. I think that we will see Kelenic get the opening day nod in left field. The Mariners will be taking on the Guardians at home for opening day, and obviously Shane Bieber, of course, unless he gets injured, will be on the mound for the Guardians. A right-handed pitcher, a really good right-handed pitcher at that, so I would expect Jarred Kelenic to probably get that playing time in left field that day. Julio, I mean, duh.
We are not worthy. We're not worthy.
Now, Teoscar Hernandez in right field is an interesting one because I know a lot of people want to see him DH. But right now, I have him in right field, and I don't really see that changing unless the Mariners go out and make a Brian Reynolds trade. The infield is probably exactly as you would expect. We have Suarez at third, J.P. Crawford over at shortstop, Colton Wong at second base, and Ty France at first. I didn't put their backups on the depth chart here just because I wanted to add some suspense. It's really killing me. I'm so excited to see who's on this bench, right, guys, right? Then, of course, we have Cal Raleigh as the starting catcher. Then we go Luis Castillo, George Kirby, Robbie Ray, Logan Gilbert, and Marco Gonzalez. I did it this way just to split up the two lefties with Marco and Ray. Obviously, I think Gilbert is the better pitcher right now and should be in the 3 spot, but just to split up the lefties and kind of break up the righties as well, I have Ray going third. And finally, here's my bench slash bullpen. Listen, I know that it shows 6 players and then it starts again for the bullpen. I had to work with what I had. So on the bench, we have Pollock, LaStella, Haggerty, Moore, and Murphy. Of course, Murphy being the backup catcher, Dylan Moore, Sam Haggerty, and Tommy LaStella being kind of your utility guys, and AJ Pollock being the platoon for Jarred Kelenic in the outfield. I would think opening day, we'd probably see LaStella get the nod as the DH that day, just because, again, they're facing a right-handed pitcher. But, of course, we could also see somebody like AJ Pollock in there. As for the bullpen, we have Andres Munoz, Matt Brash, Paul Sewell, Diego Castillo, Matt Festa, Trevor Gott, Penn Murphy, and Chris Flexen. I have Munoz penciled in here as kind of the de facto closer, but we know that that's not exactly how Scott and the Mariners want to draw that up. Obviously, Munoz is going to get the hardest part of the lineup to pitch against, and whoever's pitching in the 9th will just pitch in the 9th. Now, before we talk about the lineup that we would make here, we need to talk about a few players that didn't make the list that is actually pretty interesting. And again, this whole list is barring an injury. We still don't 100% know if Murphy, Moore, and Haggerty will all be ready to start the season. We actually have a video coming about that in the next couple days. I know, you guys think that we are just bootlickers for Locked On Mariners. Listen, guys, they just did a great interview with Jerry Dipoto, and Jerry gave a lot of information. That's the only reason we're covering it, guys. Yeah, I'm talking to you. But guys that we don't see on this roster that very well have a chance to make it, kind of the outliers. I have Evan White as a possibility, depending on what he shows in spring. Probably not. Probably you'll see him down in AAA. Taylor Trammell is another one who, honestly, if things don't go well for certain players in spring training, I could see somebody like Taylor Trammell making this roster as a bench bat and possibly even getting some time to DH. Jerry Dipoto talked about how he wants to get more at-bats for Kelenic and even Taylor Trammell, so there's a decent chance that Trammell does make this roster. I just don't know where he fits in right now. Then we have Cooper Hummel. I just don't think the Mariners are going to carry 3 catchers. I don't see it happening. And again, Hummel's not the greatest catcher in the world, and there's really no place for him in the outfield. Cade Marlowe, again, someone who probably needs some more time in the outfield at AAA. He didn't have a great showing in AAA. He was good, and he was added to the Mariners taxi squad for the playoffs last year. But Cade Marlowe is someone who really needs to work on his whiff percentage and not strike out so much. So I would assume that we'll see him down in AAA, but I would not be shocked one bit to see Cade Marlowe make his major league debut this year. Then we have a trio of relievers with Justin Topa, Isaiah Campbell, and Chris Clark. Topa is somebody that Jerry Dipoto has raved about, saying he has such good stuff. I could see him possibly making it in the bullpen over somebody like Trevor Gott, or over somebody that has an option like maybe like a Penn Murphy. Of course, if Chris Flexen gets traded, that's another way we could see that happen. Isaiah Campbell is a Mariners prospect that has made a lot of noise after making the switch to the bullpen. He was really good last year after he made that switch, has not pitched above AA, so I don't really see that happening. And Chris Clark was an interesting one for the Mariners. I believe he was the Rule 5 pick for them, and if he doesn't make the team, he will get sent back. But with that being said, I just don't really see a spot for him in this bullpen right now. Of course, I think the bullpen is really the only spot on the roster where we may see some battles. We may see someone like Trevor Gott or Matt Festa have to fight it out with Justin Topa, Isaiah Campbell, and Chris Clark, along with Gabe Spire and just other pitchers like that that may or may not make the team that might shock us all. With that being said, this is what I think the batting order will look like on opening day. We have Julio in center batting leadoff, Ty France batting second, Teoscar Hernandez batting third, we have Eugenio Suarez batting fourth, Cal Raleigh batting fifth, Colton Wong batting sixth, Tommy La Stella as the DH batting seventh, and Jared Kelenic in left field batting eighth, and then JP Crawford, God, who didn't type that in? JP Crawford playing at shortstop for the Mariners batting ninth. With spring training just a few weeks away, I think there's a good chance that this is what we see from the Mariners, if not a lot in spring training, even on opening day. With that being said, there's somebody like Jared Kelenic who may not stay on the roster that long. We have a video on the screen right now about that. I appreciate you guys watching this one, and go Mariners.